Jeff Koinange, and this is Jeff Koinange Live. Tonight is Wednesday, so you know what it's all about. Talking about the state of the nation. We have a great guest in a couple of minutes. I'll introduce him just now, very shortly. Before that, I'd like to thank all of you, many of you who watched last Thursday's show with fallen cricket great, I still call him a legend, Maurice Odumbe, and the way he opened up about what's become of him and your response. Most importantly, Kenyans came out in their numbers and you poured your hearts and minds and souls and reached down into your pockets and you helped this man. Maurice, if you're watching this show, the pressure's on you. We're going to be looking to you to get up again and prove to the world that you are that legend that we talk about. Thanks again, everybody, for your responses. And let's keep moving on. So tonight, my guest, before I introduce him, it's only fair that we show you some clips of what he's been through for this nation, what he's fought for this nation. Take a look. Njoya is my guest. We're going to be talking about the various issues, everything from the teacher strikes to the security bill to everything known as the state of the nation. This man calls it without fear or favor. He's an equal opportunity critic of any government. Just ask the people out there who are beating him in that picture. Reverend Dr. Timothy Njoya.
Good evening, viewers.
Good to see you, sir.
Good to see you too.
Well done.
Yes, thank
Those
you.
pictures, I'm telling you, I mean, you've showed me scars before. I mean, they beat you within an inch of your life that time, did they?
I've died 3 times and risen 3 times.
So you're saying you're like the man on that cross there?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
You are?
Yeah, of course. I identify with the cross because I've died and risen with the Christ as many times as God has wished.
And that last time, I mean, you were in ICU and they had declared you dead, hadn't they?
Yeah. It's Dr. Ekonyo, not this last time you saw. The 1997, July 7.
Yes.
It's Dr. Ekonyo who resuscitated me right at the door. He didn't allow me to go to the ICU before he put resuscitation machines.
Because you were gone?
Yeah.
You were gone?
To my maker.
All right, Reverend Doctor, I'll get to the issues in Kenya in a moment, but there's one issue that's really been bothering me this week, and bothering me in a way that I don't know what it is about us as Africans. I felt a bit ashamed this week to be an African, and I'll tell you why. Last week, terrorists struck Paris like they never did before. It's the worst attack in France since probably World War II. About 16 people were killed at the end, and Parisians and French people came out in numbers. About 4 million marched over the weekend against terrorism to support the editors and the journalists at Charlie Hebdo. At the same time, 2,000 Nigerians were being slaughtered by Boko Haram in a village up in the north of Nigeria. Nobody blinked an eyelid. And the question I asked is does life mean nothing for us Africans? What is it about us?
About us, because our governments and our states are brokers. They are middlemen between the market, whose centers are outside Kenya, and us Kenyans. They trade with us. So they don't care what happens to us, because they know that as brokers, they are not responsible for what happens below them. They are only responsible for what happens to the stability and the continuity of the market.
So life means nothing to them?
That is the ethos of the market. That when you say that Kenya has never become a nation, it was started as a British overseas market in 1888, became independent as a broker of an overseas market, and then we wanted a new constitution to transform Kenya from a market into a nation, so that it may recognize people as human rather than as property. Now, but the problem, as you see, all the trade unions in Kenya going on strike. 2.6 million government employees, workers, that the private sector about 2.5 million. That means about 4.5 million people who could have elected a government, their own government, voted on ethnic identity, because their interest is in the market, not in their own interest, their own human rights, their own survival, their own humanity. They wanted they went back to instincts of ethnicity. Now, imagine no Sassion, no Atwari sponsored a socialist candidate. They all voted the people whom they will trade with, whom they will negotiate with, and get nothing. Why didn't they vote for somebody who will take interest of the workers? Because they have no consciousness of human rights, of humanity, of dignity, of integrity. Their consciousness is about what is for me. How much can I get?
So don't we have a conscience as Africans? And I'm looking at Boko Haram earlier last April, they kidnapped 200 girls. Nearly a year later, the girls haven't been found.
African heads of state didn't go to Nigeria to demonstrate or to offer sympathy. None of them.
We have the AU.
But didn't you see that some African president went to Paris?
Yes.
To demonstrate for 13 people?
Correct.
Did an African head of state go to Nigeria to control or to sympathize or send a detachment of the army to help? They didn't. Now they are running away to protect where their interests are, going to Paris.
So we are still pawns.
Again, let's not look just at quality. Let's look at quantity. Let us look at quality. How much? In Kenya, when we were attacked at Westgate, we were divided along ethnic in terms of comments against partisan lines. In Europe, there's no more parties. We don't have as many as in France. What did all the parties in France do? Nationalism.
They came together.
They came together because national identity, national ethos, the national consciousness was under threat. They all came together to protect freedom, what they called freedom. What ideology can we protect in Kenya other than our ethnic interests? You see, the problem is this. We are divided as to how to divide the national cake, because there's no value before eating and beyond eating. But we should be divided in the future between lovers of freedom and exploiters.
But when did it come to that, Reverend Doctor? Where did we go? When did the rain start beating us?
I don't know. I don't know when as I said, trade unions in Africa became unions for negotiating the terms of their exploitation, how much they can be exploited and with their exploiters. Because by the time we became democratic, by now we will have unionist, sympathetic governments in Africa. Like like all the votes of the workers in Kenya are enough to put an unionist in the power.
Yeah, but let me play devil's advocate, Reverend Doctor,
Yeah.
and tell you, look, in America, it took a civil war for them to realize 1862.
Yeah.
It took a civil war after
To
close
implement
to
the
100
1884
years.
constitution.
Correct.
Yeah.
Nearly 100 years. Is that how long it's going to take us?
Less than 100 years to have a civil war to implement the 6 chapters of our constitution, because with the current capitalist market government, the 6 chapters are nonsensical. They don't mean anything. What it means is putting pigs in the parliament and devolving those pigs into rats called MCAs. Members of,
Yeah.
they want to ravage the economy.
Yes.
Have you ever, maybe it's good to have one pig in the parliament than devolving it into 47 rats in the counties. They want more money, they want to eat whatever is there,
Yeah.
and eat and ravage everything that they find in their way. They have forgotten those who elected them, because they were not elected in terms of ideology, they were elected in terms of identity. And that was the greatest problem. They were elected in terms of their Kikuyu, their Ruos, their Kabas, all that kind of thing, which is not an ideology. It's simply self-interest.
But maybe they think, you know what, I've got 5 years. I've got only 5 years.
To be a rat and to be a pig.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Democracy aroused that, but not my kind of democracy.
But you're a socialist anyway.
I'm a socialist in the sense that I would have liked to see a government put in power by trade unionists.
That's never going to happen.
Yeah.
It's never going to happen.
Because of ethnicity again. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So what's the solution? What's the way forward?
The solution like that, I don't want to see strikes in Kenya. I want to see better voting next time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Speaking of strikes.
Yeah.
Teachers strike. Teachers strike, demanding billions and billions of shillings.
Whom did they vote for?
That's not the point.
It's a big point. With whom are they negotiating? They are negotiating with the person they voted for. Is he going to listen to them? He gave them the mandate to maintain the status quo. They gave Uhuru and Ruto the power to maintain the status quo. Yeah.
So
they have no complaint to make.
No.
Because that's how they voted.
But Reverend Doctor, at the end of the day, who suffers the most? It's
the voters. The voters.
And their kids.
And their
kids. And their kids who aren't going to school. They may be happy,
And then the problem, they are producing unemployables. That's another problem. You see, the market is supposed to pay wages and salaries commensurate to what you have produced, to the goods and services you deliver. If you are going to deliver for a lady in a gown and give her bomb burden to raise, and the boys who are going to become Baghdad boys, Nyamashuma, is it Amashuma? At the Mogeki, Chikoro, all those. If you are going to pay school fees to produce that, should a teacher be paid, is it commensurate to what he is producing? In your time, Koinange, in my time, everybody produced, even standard 8 got a job.
Yes.
Even Form 4 got a job.
Correct.
In that sense, the teacher was honored, he was respected, he was the king, he was everything.
Yeah.
Everybody saluted a teacher. Today, what does he produce for a parent? Unemployable. So people cannot think of what else to do.
And we're going to be raising a nation of illiterates.
Illiterates. So I'm saying that we need to know that regardless of how they vote, not only teachers, nurses, and others, regardless of who they voted for, and now they want goods from him, and they voted him not to bring goods, but because he was their tribe. Now, regardless of who they voted for, let's go to what they are producing, their products. I would like them to be paid better. I would like them to, because they are the employed poor, I call them the employed poor. There is an employed poor. But again, even the unemployed poor, why are they employed? They dig quarry, they don't sleep in stone houses. Milk cows, they can't afford a glass of milk. They pick coffee, they can't drink tea. They wash people's clothes, they go naked. All this, and even self-employment, which they are not given income or money commensurate. They grow carrots in Nyandarua and cabbages. How much do they get, and they feed the whole nation? So I'm saying that we who enjoy their services don't pay enough. don't pay enough for those services and those goods in order for them to live better. So the gap, and that's why I sympathize with the workers sometimes when they go on strike, even teachers. The gap between them and the 1% elite is so big that that's why we call them pigs and rats. The gap is so big that they are only parasites. And that these people are going on strike to bridge the gap, because the gap makes it what you call relative deprivation. You have read Ga book, Why Men Rebel.
Yes.
Ga argued that men rebel when the gap between them and the people above them is so big that they are going to the same market. They can't buy, they have no equal purchasing power. Reduce the purchasing power of the most paid, and that's why it says, what do you call her? This salary review committee.
Yeah, SRM.
She should reduce salaries next time to the level which doesn't create the gap in Kenya, which is a very obscene. It's an obscene gap. It's pejorative.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Reverend Doctor, I want to talk more about that after the break. And also I want to talk about the security bill. I know you have your own points, your own thoughts, your own perspective on the security bill. I want to hear your thoughts about that. And also, you also paid a courtesy call to former Prime Minister Raila Odinga on the death of his son Fidel Castro. You paid a courtesy call.
Yes, I did, because to prove a point that I'm not a tribalist. And also because I'm sympathetic, I'm human, I have emotions.
Okay.
Supposing my child went,
Correct.
I would like sympathy from him. I went, not only him, I went to bury his father. I used to give his father his gifts. Cup, books, Bible. Jaramogi. So it's not, the friendship is not yesterday. So it is like my family.
Correct.
It's a family element. But I like to go visibly to make a point that we are not all tribalists in Kenya.
Pigs and rats.
And rats.
Oh my.
In power.
Oh my goodness. Those are the Reverend Doctor's thoughts, not mine, okay? At Timothy Njoya, at Koinange Jeff, the hashtag is JKL. We're talking about the state of the nation. Make that the moral state of the nation. Who better than Reverend Dr. Timothy Njoya, right here live on Jeff Koinange Live. We'll take a break. We'll be back in a moment. Reverend Dr. And welcome back to Jeff Koinange Live at the Intercontinental Hotel. Good grief. When the Reverend Dr. Timothy Njoya shows up, you know it's going to be fire. I'm looking for my fire extinguisher as we speak. And by the way, I see a lot of you like that pigs and rats analogy. Salvador Aguina says, we have put pigs in parliament and devolved rats into our county assemblies. He's quoting you, Reverend Doctor.
Yeah.
Also, Pini Owachi says, Reverend Njoya, not stopping anytime soon. This man is straight to the point. Moses Joroge, you say, Reverend Doctor, you are right. It's a nation of pigs and rats. Lord have mercy. Oh my. Gideon Kaitani says, I salute you, Reverend Njoya, for standing up to the rights of the common Mwananchi. The beating you got was unbearable. And Neil Mugo says, I agree with Njoya. Some of us are not tribalists. You're referring to visiting former Prime Minister Raila Odinga on the death of Fidel Castro Odinga.
Yeah.
You went there?
Yep, I was there. And as I said, I went there because humanly I have instincts, I have sympathy. And you need empathy when you lose and they are friends. But again, I wanted, as I said, to go visibly to show that I'm not a tribalist and not every Kenyan is a tribalist. We are one. And I think we have learned from the French experience that there is no opposition, there's no controversy when the nation is in danger.
When a nation is in mourning.
When the nation is mourning.
Yeah.
And I think I saw Ruto there, I saw at Osins.
The president was there?
The president was there.
House?
I wish all things happen that way, because that is a sense of purpose. That's what creates a nation. And a nation is common emotions, common feeling. It's not simply sharing materialism, but sharing a commonality of values and of beliefs and of interests.
Yeah, but that was very temporary, Reverend Doctor, I think. We come together for that moment, and then a few days later, we're back to our tribal cocoons.
I think we need a broom to whip out the pigs from power. Because as long as they are there, their interests come from paramount. They have no selflessness.
What would you replace the pigs with?
Only the people who have the interests of the workers. You know,
You're coming back to your socialism roots.
Yeah. It's the people who have the interests of the producers, the productive. Now what we have in Kenya is not productive justice. It is distributive justice, sharing the national cake. Not by producers. The people who got A's and B's in exams are the ones who eat by sitting down. The people who failed, not failed, who got C, D, and F's, they joined their mothers in picking coffee and correcting sand and breaking quarries, produce houses for the people who got A and a B. And not only to produce houses, to pick coffee and tea, to bring Mercedes, to import Mercedes, not to import anything for the poor. You know, in 1978, it required 400 farmers, when there was a coffee boom, 400 farmers to produce enough coffee to bring one Mercedes in Kenya. If I said, let's sell coffee and tea, not in terms of Mercedes, but in terms of have a central bank where coffee is produced, have in Kerisho, the central bank, so that when we sell coffee in rubles or in German mark, Deutsche Marks, or the money comes there and it is not taxed by the government until it comes there and does not import anything, we take that money in terms of currency to import things. Then everybody who picks coffee would be driving the Mercedes, not the one who sits in Nairobi in the skyscrapers, because he is producing nothing.
Do you drive a Mercedes, Reverend Doctor?
Yeah?
Do you drive a Mercedes?
If you give me one, but I can't afford it. Let me not talk about sour grapes, because I can't say I wouldn't drive it because I don't have it.
Sam Wairimu says, better to have one pig in parliament than 47 rats in the counties.
Yes, that's true. That's true, because if you develop pigs, they are not many. But if you develop one pig into 47 rats, they are going to finish your granary. They will even eat everything, including your pumpkins.
Disclaimer, those are not my thoughts or KTN's. That's Reverend Doctor. You know, these MPs are going to be suing us from tomorrow. There'll be lawsuits. Okay, everybody runs to court, you know that.
Courts are very good because we settle scores. And if I have to suffer for saying what I'm saying,
yes, I
would rather spend my life in jail than free and not saying that.
Okay.
You must be willing to pay the price.
Absolutely.
Of speaking your mind.
Yes.
And I think that's what everybody should do.
Indeed. You fought for this constitution, did you?
Yeah.
You fought for it.
It's me who declared that we should have a new constitution, 1986, 5th October, and we have a dismantle one party. Berlin Wall is going to fall. Let's release political prisoners. And all that, even we formed, I was one of the mothers of politically widowed politically widowed. And we formed all those things when nobody could until 1990 when politicians, we started recruiting politicians to join us.
So when we finally had a new constitution in 2010, and now it's slowly being interpreted, what do you think about it?
I don't think the interpretations matter a lot. If you look at the American, I have read the book on American civil rights, a book called Civil Rights, on civil rights, from a commission by Redon Johnson, a book on civil rights. How the Constitution in America was mutilated, murdered, done a lot of damage by various governments. Alabama saying that anybody born in the last, with a speck of blood from black people in the last generation is a Negro and must be discriminated. Yeah. You know, all these laws were there.
Correct.
And they were interpreting the Constitution in a very, very distorted manner. All these laws went, first of all, by Abraham Lincoln when he declared civil war against them, again during the civil rights movement. You see, because they had a document, original, to go by. There are things that in the Constitution, we have said they cannot be removed. You cannot undo Kenya. There's no way you can amend Kenya even through a referendum to say Kenya is not Kenya. Can you?
No.
Okay. So there are certain things that are fundamental. You cannot say people are not human, or you cannot abolish the sovereignty of the people of Kenya, or you cannot say anymore Kenya is not one nation under God.
But how long is it going to take to interpret this like the Americans? It took them about 100 years?
Let me say, what we have done, we have laid the foundations, the premise for a future. It's very hopeful.
So you and I are not going to see this to Kenya?
We must have intergenerational instinct. We should not always live for ourselves. Nationhood means like familyhood, you know, where you have patrilineal, you have, I don't like patriarchy, you have procreation. Nation procreates itself all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one generation is not enough to create a nation. It must be intergenerational.
Okay. Switch gears. Your thoughts on the security bill?
In terms of the security bill, it is double tragedy. Double tragedy. We lose human rights, we suffer insecurity, and then we remove our freedom to fight that. That's not a broom to remove insecurity. Reform corruption, because it is endemic corruption that brings insecurity. Lack of people we can trust to protect our borders, and when we send them to go and track Ebola, not simply Ebola of the Sierra Leone, to attack Al-Shabaab.
Yeah.
They go there to sell shaku. So what you have in Kenya is that we need a broom to sweep the human mind, to cleanse humanity from sin. Because maybe you don't believe in sin. I believe there is sin, because some people, sin is a very compelling emotion to do wrong.
Yeah.
When you have no, what you call accountability, you have no transparency. You are likely to do the opposite of good.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that in Kenya, what we need is a broom, reforms that will bring back integrity and morality.
Someone once said that the greatest trick the devil ever played was in convincing the world that he didn't exist so that they can sin.
Of course. I myself have always said, it's not that I blame the devil for my sins. I'm capable of owning up to my sins. Adam and Eve blamed the snake. They were punished. So you don't blame someone else or pass the buck for your problems to someone else. You have to own up your responsibility. You have to mature and grow up. And that's what we need Kenyans to grow up and mature.
These new brooms, what's it going to take? Is it a Kaiseri, a Boynet?
What they call Spring Revolution.
Arab Spring?
Arab Spring was one broom. It didn't sweep.
It didn't work?
It didn't
work? Where has it worked? Egypt? Libya?
At least it shows the dictators that they are not imputable. But it proved a point that a dictator is not impregnable.
But
yeah,
look at Libya today. Libya's a mess.
It's a mess, but Tunisia is not.
Under Gaddafi.
But Tunisia is not. You must also look for positive. And Libya is better the way it is than with the Gaddafi.
Not. It's not.
I think it is.
ISIS is in there. Extremists are fighting. Bengalis on fire.
They were created by dictators. They are not created by the present conditions.
The Libyans will tell you life was better under Gaddafi.
He created their problems today. Even Siad Barre created the problems in Somalia today. Yeah, Kenyatta didn't create them. At least he held the nation together, irrespective of having accumulated a lot of land, which was not why we elected him.
Are you talking about the first Kenyatta or the second one?
The first one.
Oh, okay.
At least he didn't hold the nation together. You see, he was fighting. He was of the group that fought for land. So having land was his ideology. But today we don't fight for land, we fight for human rights. Today we fight for different things.
Yeah, I'm being told we have to take another break. I don't know why. I don't know what commercials we're buying or what bills we're paying.
Yeah.
But we're just warming up here.
Of course.
Huh?
Of course.
Nick, nini commercial ingine? Nini? Ati wanataka shilingi.
Okay.
We're going to take another break, Reverend Doctor. Come back, talk some more. My goodness. At Timothy Njoya, at Koinange Jeff. The hashtag is JKL. Please keep tweeting. Woo! They're coming in thick and fast. JKL takes another break, and we'll be right back with the outspoken, controversial Reverend Dr. Timothy Njoya. Back in a moment.